Do not make me cry. Please. Thank you so much. What an honor it is to be here, to have Ken Niumatalolo. I did know Ken. You were 7-1 with me there. I apologize for 0-2. It's Brad Nessler's fault. Thank you so much. What a kind introduction. It reminds me of an introduction I received, a long time ago. I was lucky enough to be selected as the Texas State Sportscaster of the Year by the National Association of Sports Writers and Sportscasters. It is a terrific honor because you're voted on by your peers. And then the award ceremony was held outside of Charlotte. All the state winners, writers and broadcasters came back, and we were at the ceremony introduced alphabetically, beginning with Alabama, Mike, Arizona, Arkansas, on and on. Well, I'm in Texas, so I'm way at the end of the line, and the MC for the night was a fellow who it turned out was the public address announcer at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was a young man, rather portly, wide. And he was nervous as can be, and he came back and he wanted to check the names, as he properly should have done. And he started with a guy all the way down, and I was standing behind John Ward of Tennessee. He said, and then Dave Blackwell from Utah. Verne Lundquist? I said, no, it's Verne Lundquist. I'll get it right. 5 minutes before we go on, he comes back for another name check. One more time. Van Lundquist? No, it's Verne Lundquist. He said, I promise you I will get it right. Now we began the process, and he comes down to John Ward from Tennessee, and he looked back at me, and the flop sweat started coming down his cheeks. And he said, now please welcome, representing the state of Texas, Verne Ludacris. The late Jack Buck, Joe's dad, was sitting in the audience. He had won from Missouri that year. As I walked out, I could hear him say, Ludacris. He never called me anything else till the day he died. I did serve as the voice of the Cowboys for all those years. The very first road trip I ever attended was in '67 at RFK, and the Cowboys, Don Meredith hit Dan Reeves with a minute to go on a 55-yard touchdown pass, and I was going to do the post-game locker room show, and they had escorted me down. I was standing 15 feet behind Otto Graham, and the Redskins are there. Sonny was the quarterback, and I'm excited because it's a Dallas team, and I'm representing for them. And I almost screamed, and I thought, thank God you didn't do something like that. But those were later great years with George Allen and Tom Landry. Walt Garrison was a good friend, the Cowboys' cowboy, the fullback. Ken Houston made a stop on Garrison, a Monday night game here I've never forgotten. Garrison was asked, have you ever seen Tom Landry smile? And he said, no, but I've only been here 9 years. That association led to a chance to do college football for ABC, which I did for 8 years. And so many highlights. It was radio, which is dramatically different than television. My second or third game was at Arizona State, and they had an outstanding Samoan linebacker named Wayne Fonoimoana. I've never forgotten how to pronounce his name. And I worried about it, and I talked to the SID at Arizona State. He said, it's easy, just do it phonetically. Wayne Fonoimoana. So I got it right, and he said, let me tell you a story about last week. We played the University of Texas at El Paso. It was on radio. It was not televised at all. And the radio broadcaster for UTEP asked me about Wayne Fonoimoana. I said, it's not difficult. Fonoimoana. Okay, I got it. Called him back on Wednesday. He said, Wayne Fonoimoana. He said, yeah, you got it right. They flew in on Friday. He went to the field. He said, Wayne Fonoimoana. And the SID at Arizona State said, you got it right, but he's not going to play. He pulled a hamstring. The radio guy from El Paso said, baloney. As far as my radio audience is concerned, Wayne Fonoimoana is going to make 7 tackles, intercept a pass, and 3 sacks. I had 8 years at ABC. Ultimately wound up doing college football on television for those 8. And among the dozens of memories I've got was a game that was featuring Brigham Young University at Utah State. And this was a BYU team that sent 3 quarterbacks into the NFL. The least known at that time was Jim McMahon. And we were expecting a great day. BYU was 5-0. Utah State was 4-1. Wonderful, beautiful October day in the Cache Valley in Logan, Utah. Well, we come on the air, and BYU could not be stopped. 28 at the end of the first quarter, 42-3 at halftime. Lavelle Edwards, the coach, went to his second quarterback. McMahon was the punter on the team, and the onslaught continued. I checked the score to make sure my memory is correct. It got to be 66-3 in the fourth quarter. Well, now a chill gets into the air. The stands are emptied. Our director, a guy named Joe Assetti, took a shot of a little tiny elderly lady in the north end zone. And she was sitting all by herself. She had an overcoat on, a shawl around her shoulders, a scarf on her head, and really well-earned lines etched in her face. And Joe lingered on this shot. And I'm desperately trying to think of something appropriate to say. And he pushes the key down, and in my ear I hear, she was a freshman when this game started. I was Terry Bradshaw's first partner in the NFL. Have you seen his latest ad? Terry in his 60s now in a walk-in bathtub. The guy's got no barriers. And he didn't then. We were together in '84. First time he'd ever been on television. I had begun college football and then moved to the NFL to be with Terry as his first partner. Our first production meeting, we were doing Detroit at New Orleans. And on Saturday night, before the Sunday game, Terry said to all of our production people, I got an idea, Bubba. Ain't nobody watching this game. We're going back to Detroit, and it's blacked out in New Orleans. Let's double up and invent us a football player. Well, what do you mean? He said, well, nobody's going to be watching. He said, let's imagine a football player and introduce him into the game. This is all true. Thus began a one-year career for Willie Anderson, free agent defensive back, College in Maine. And here's the way it worked. Me, Morton Anderson getting ready to kick off for the Saints. Billy Sims is back. Here's the kick. Sims has it at 5. He's at the 15. He's at the 25. He's at 35. He gets a great block. He's across midfield, and he's finally tackled at the New Orleans 43-yard line. Terry, Bubba, I tell you what, that was some tackle by Willie Anderson, the free agent defensive back from Colby College in Maine. No number. No number. He said, you know, nobody understands all that stuff in the middle. Next week, we're doing Tampa and Atlanta. Me. Here's Elmer Splivitz back to punt. Carl Larson is waiting. He's grabbed at the 20. He's at the 30. He's at, oh my gosh, what a tackle at the 35-yard line. Terry, Bubba, I'll tell you what. That was some tackle by Willie Anderson, free agent defensive back at Colby College in Maine. We never got caught. And at the end of the year, our producer, Mike Burks, called the sports information office at Colby College in Maine. Yeah, this is Colby College Sports. Hi, Mike Burks, CBS. Wait a minute, you're with CBS? Yes, I am. I got a question. What the hell's going on with you people? We don't have anybody named Willie Anderson who ever played here. Mike said, well, that's kind of why I'm calling. And he explained what we did. And Mike asked for and delivered to all of us. We have, Nancy and I, have T-shirts and a group picture of 8 of us in Colby College T-shirts, gray and blue, and thus ended the one-year career of poor old Willie. I just came from a pretty exciting week at Augusta, sitting at the 16th hole. This was my 35th Masters, and I've been so blessed during the 35 years I've been a part of our telecast. Actually, my first year was in '83, and I was in the 15th hole of a CBS telecast here when Fred Couples won in a 5-man playoff. They passed through 15, and they were still tied, 2 of them, Scott Simpson and Fred, and he won. And those of you of a certain age, I know you will remember that he won on 16, and when he won, his then wife, Deborah, came out to embrace him, and she tromped across the 16 green in heels that were that high. And then I did, Jim Nance's dad died. I was here in 2008, the week of his father's passing, and got to anchor the telecast, and that was when Anthony Kim won by 3 strokes, I think. But all of this is a part of the Masters coverage for me. I was lucky enough to be at 17 when Jack Nicklaus birdied the hole, took the lead. Yes, sir. I was at 16 in '05 when Tiger chipped and miraculous shot and won ultimately over Chris DeMarco. And then I was there this year. And I think one of the significant shots that Tiger struck on Sunday was at 16. And after he birdied the hole, Nance and I were at a dinner party hosted by CBS, and I was asked, well, what did you say? And all I could, and that was retired, but I couldn't remember. So that night, we went back to our rental home. She was exhausted. She said, I'm going to bed. I said, I got to find out what I said. And as it turned out, I watched the 16th hole and pointed out that he had had an 8-iron in his hands with a 1-shot lead in '05, and he had an 8-iron in his hands with a 1-shot lead in 2019. And I said, you probably remember the tee shot then. I'll guarantee you this will be better. And he put it, what, this far? And it played out, and it turned out I didn't say a word. And maybe that's 35 years of doing it. And I will tell you this, when he birdied the hole to increase his lead for 2, and he started to walk to the 17th tee, I choked up. And I was trying to say something, and I thought, I'm going to get teary-voiced on the air. So I pushed the cough key to quiet my mic and let him go on. And I've thought a lot about it since. It may be the greatest story in sports that I've seen in 5 decades. Just the story of redemption. Two years ago at the Champions Dinner, he announced to his fellow Masters champions, I'm done. I can't play anymore. So the Americans, who most yesterday had a great article in talking with the surgeons who do spinal surgery, and they explained what procedure he had gone through. I just don't know that we'll ever see anything quite like that again. But I'm going to close with two quick stories. Just two. Doc, I'm trying, but I'm getting carried away. Thank you, sir. By the way, Daryl's here. Where's Daryl? Sitting right here. And I can't believe I haven't seen him in forever. His rookie year, I was doing a radio broadcast of the Cowboys and the Redskins, and we were in that god-awful visiting radio press box under the eaves at the very top of RFK. To get there, you took an elevator to the upper deck and walked the Himalayas. And 18 years I did it, that one unisex restroom in that press box never worked. Never. But I saw Daryl, his rookie year out of Texas A&I, do something I thought was impossible. It was here, Monday night, right? And Tony Dorsett got loose, and I watched this guy chase down Dorsett, 75 yards. He caught him at the 10 and tackled him, and Dorsett still hasn't gotten over it. Golf can appear as a broadcast, I think, to be fairly simple. But if you don't understand the rules and the jargon of the sport, you can get exposed very quickly. And this happened at my first Masters in '83, and we had a young man at the 14th hole who had never done golf before, but he was in a position at CBS to convince them to add him to the broadcast. And if you play the game, you'll get this right away. Seve Ballesteros, it was Monday, and Seve had a 4-stroke lead, and Pat Summerall throws it down to the 14th, and here's what we got. Here's Ballesteros. He's only 105 yards away from a hole which is located back right. He's got a pitching wedge in his hand. And with that, there's a commotion behind a tree over here. And Seve looks up, we got a nice tight shot, and he said, 4, please. And our poor broadcaster said, well, he's changed his mind, he's asking for his 4-iron. And one more, same year. We had a guy at Amen Corner then, named Steve Melnick from Brunswick, Georgia. And I once accused him of being the kind of fella who never got over being raised in Brunswick, Georgia. He always wanted to use a polysyllabic word if he could find one that would replace a monosyllabic word. So here's what we got. Summerall. Let's go to Amen Corner. And the 12th hole, here's Steve Melnick. Thank you, Patrick. We're here at the lovely par 3 12th hole. It's the apex of Amen Corner, a tall stand of loblolly Georgia pines, serving as silent sentinels as Ray's Creek meanders gently in front of this undulating green. Nick Faldo's on the tee. He's chosen an 8-iron. The wind is rushing from his rear. You gotta think about it. This is an enormous capital. I was, by the way, my first visit here ever was on a certain day in June of '64. And this guy named Ken Venturi went 36 holes at this golf course. And I later roomed with Ken at Augusta for 7 years. So I laughingly said, I've heard the story about that 36-hole final maybe 7,816 times. But that was my introduction to Washington, and by relationship to Congressional, And to be honored by the Washington Touchdown Club is just enormously significant to me. Thank you all very, very much.